Hello and welcome back to another episode of Baseball Night. I'm your host, Tom Brown, joined as always by my brother, Jack. It is Thursday morning, February 15th. Yesterday, Jack, was the first workout for pitchers and catchers for the Boston Red Sox. And I don't know. Could Alex Cora miss the first day because he was sick?
Mhm.
Uh,
He saw his pitching staff and immediately got sick to his stomach.
they walked in the day before and he
He
greeted them
said,
all and he was like,
Wait, where's Chris Sale?" And he said, "No, just kidding. We're back though. We're in full swing. Or pitch, whatever you want to call it, but we're there, man."
I mean, the Dodgers and Padres reported really early because they're playing in Korea for the first games of the season, and just
Hmm.
it happens to me every year. I mean, I'm looking out my slider in my house, and there it is cold. It's sunny, but it looks cold. And guess what? It's 22 degrees, so it is cold. Just it gets me every time seeing the throwing and the hitting and the 80-degree
Oh,
weather.
same. Oh, same. I saw a fun tweet that said the spring training can't begin until this video drops, and it's just all the pitchers and catchers walking into the facility. And it's true. I just thought to myself, oh, here we go. Just bring me into
Yeah.
that sunshine for however long I will watch a video on spring training. I feel warm and I feel like it's nice. But as much as we are down, you can't help but feel the excitement when you see that first video roll of pitchers and catchers playing catch, working on their bullpens in Fort Myers.
Yep. Yeah. So speaking of the Red Sox, Craig Breslow and Alex Cora kind of held court on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure when it was, just answering a bunch of questions from the media. And they revolved basically around a couple things. And the first is the most interesting man in camp right now, which is Cedane Rafaela, because his defense is so dynamic that it
Mhm.
changes everything to put him in center field and say, now we fill in around this. But, he's also, excuse me, also really young and needs to work on his hitting.
Mm.
I believe, let me look at just pulled up his page here on Fangraphs. Yeah, he struck out 31% of the times he batted last year, but he only played 28 games, 89 plate appearances. So there is stuff to work on. And the kicker to it all is if they keep him in the minors team till May 12th, they get another year of his
Controllability,
contract.
baby.
Yeah.
And you know what? I get that. I've always said that it's so shitty to do to the players. However, I live 10 minutes from the Boston Red Sox minor league stadium.
That's true.
It's not going to be a bad April if I'm watching Rafaela play center field and lead off for the Worcester Red Sox.
Yeah,
However, it will be a bad April and probably for his development if he's not in Boston. I mean, he's 23. He's in his age 23 season. Um, Let him eat, man. Let him eat. Let him start the year as your starting major league opening day center fielder. I like Jaron Duran. I think Rafaela is a better overall center fielder than Duran. You know what, Tom? Duran would look great in right field at Fenway Park. He's got the speed to go back on the ball. He doesn't really have to worry about the triangle or the green monster. Just let him be there. Let him have his flat out speed in right.
yes. I think Duran bounced back in a huge way last year that
Yeah.
just straight up changed our minds on him. We were, he had a bad go of it in 2021,
I wouldn't even say that he
2022,
bounced back. I would
2022.
say that he straight up broke through last year.
Yes. But there were still times where you're like, you're lucky you're as fast as you are because I don't know how well of a job you do, how good of a job, how well you do reading a fly ball. Like, facts are facts. He doesn't get great jumps. So center field may not be for him, but I have a
Yeah.
feeling
When I say
I
he broke through, I meant offensively.
right, right. I just have this sneaking suspicion until maybe May 13th. It's gonna go Tyler O'Neill in left, Jaron Duran in center, and I guess Abreu in right
Yeah.
for Ref Schneider. Well, Ref Schneider's always been the platoon guy, so
If there's a
I would,
lefty, it's going to be Rough Snyder.
yeah. Or they swap things up a lot for the first month with the DH and get Yoshida in the field a bunch. But
I mean,
I
that's
ju-
not.
I don't see how you're projected to be the last place team in the division and you lose a year of contract control over one of your best prospects. I just don't see why he it'd be exciting, but I don't see him starting the year with the team because you have it's not like when it was Chris Bryant and it was like, well, this guy's going to win rookie of the year and be a future MVP, but he needs to work on his defense. This is the opposite. He needs to cut down his strikeouts. So that's like a glaring number you can point to say he has to start in Worcester.
Yeah, yes, true. He needs to have the better approach at the plate. Does not
I would lo-
walk, just
I would
strikes
love him
out.
to start in the majors. It just
Yeah, me too.
the history of what they do to finagle arbitration eligibility and where they're projected, there's just it doesn't seem like it's gonna happen.
No.
The other topic that popped up, speaking of outfielders, is Yoshida seems to be the guy that's gonna get most of the at bats at DH,
Okay.
which I don't know. Interesting. You could have kind of if it makes sense because then you got Tyler O'Neill who's just going to be a defensive guy, and if he pops a couple homers, great. But that's why you get Tyler O'Neill. So now you can solidify the defense, especially when Rafaela comes up. Because
Hmm.
once that happens, you're just gonna have O'Neill in left, Duran in right, Rafaela in center, Yoshida DH. And
So,
then you can I was just gonna say, then you can pop Yoshida into left field when righties are pitching and give Devers or Casas a day off their feet and have them DH.
right. So we talked about this last week. As far as left fields go in the major leagues, Fenway is probably number 30 on the most difficult scale to play. Turn around. You turn around. If the ball's over your head, you turn around. It's not like Yaz that you're going back there and playing the ball off the wall and gunning somebody out at second base. Manny had a good arm back there. The defensive metrics for left field at Fenway Park are just less than because it's not that difficult. It's only 310 to the wall. The wall is 38 feet high, so a lot of balls just hit it and bounce back to you. Um, I don't get the decision, especially when you have a crater at third base defensively. Um, that would really, who knows? If Rafi Devers doesn't play third base and he concentrates entirely on hitting, who knows what kind of season he can have? I don't know that Tyler O'Neill is some defensive run scoring, um, like stalwart or standout. I've never once heard Tyler O'Neill get talked about as the upper echelon of outfield defenders. Maybe I just don't know enough about his defensive game. Um, but I just don't agree with it. I I mean, if it's a concern about his durability, because towards the end of the year after the All-Star break, he fell off a cliff in terms of production. So maybe it's to try to get him less reps and he's just focused on the hitting. Um, but I don't know. I think defensively they were awful last year. And this doesn't do much to improve your defense except taking one below average fielder off the field. When in reality, he's not even nearly as bad as the worst fielder on the field right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for his career, Tyler O'Neill is positive in defensive runs saved, but it's plus 24, and he actually was an he was one defensive run saved last year in left field and -2 in center. So I doubt they'll put him in center. But yeah, I mean, it's
Where's the upgrade?
The Devers thing is gonna be the Devers, the story of him until he's honestly he'll have to like turn 30, I bet. I mean, you don't sign a contract like that. I just assume he said, I want to play third base, which you got to sign him. But and I know fielding metrics aren't the best, but what I just said about Tyler O'Neill being a plus 24 for defensive run saved in his career, Rafael Devers is a minus 53, -9 last year. They may not be accurate, but when you're a minus 53, give or take a
You
couple
get
runs saved, it's
you get the
still
narrative
bad.
there. You get the gist of the story there.
It's right there. Defense and pitching were your biggest issues last year. He is your best hitter, but it's not a situation where you have someone like Trout when he was before he got hurt, or Julio Rodriguez right now, Mookie Betts right now, Corbin Carroll, guys that are like, oh, they're good in the field. And I mean, Ronald Acuna was the MVP, really good in the field. They moved him off center because they have an elite center fielder in Michael Harris II. We're going to talk about them later, but you just don't. He's not the 5-tool guy. He is I guess, 2-tool guy. He can hit for power and hit consistently. So
Yeah.
Yoshida, it actually surprised me last year towards the end of the year where they were like, well, his defense. And I was like, was it that noticeable? Because I saw someone 150 feet away from him, same side of the field, who's a bigger issue. Also, you played a utility outfielder at shortstop for half the year. Let's not forget that about the Red Sox bad defense in
I
2023.
I would never. I can't. It left a scar on my brain. I will
Uh
say that my two, and again, I have nothing against them personally. My two least favorite people to watch last year are gone. The GM is gone. So the team itself feels very different. Not better, just different.
yeah, it's the stink on the team has a lot to do with ownership. Where last
Mostly.
year I think it was a lot on Bloom, which he made some signings. He did some dumb things at trade deadlines. Maybe in 5 years, we're like, oh, okay. He maybe wasn't the best, but it was way more ownership the than him.
I think you can say that now. However, I think that two things that and again, he could have been acting as he could have been doing exactly what FSG wanted him to do, whether it was cut salary, improve. I said that in quotes for all of you who are listening on the podcast. Improve their farm system because depending on who you ask, they're either at the bottom of the league or the middle of the league. Um, and like I said, get rid of salary. However, we talked about it all last year when the news came out when he got finally fired. Um, you have an opportunity to move Chris Sale, dump that salary while he's hurt, and you don't do it. That's a fireable offense. I don't think his player evaluation was very good. And again, we don't have to rehash this now. However, unfortunately, Tom, the exact same things are happening with Craig Breslow. the exact same.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how he reacts to being being like at the trade deadline, because it happened to Bloom twice, I think. At the trade deadline, you could make some moves and actually go for the playoffs, or you could be like, listen, we know where we are. Let's stock up. Let's get rid of some of these guys like JD Martinez, who remained on the team that year, and get something that could, honestly, could you imagine if they got a guy that just turned out to be a setup man, but a dominant setup man to dump JD Martinez for half a year? But I'm ranting. I want to see what Breslow does at a deadline where it's like, choose your path. Go get a pitcher to try and move towards the playoffs, or take a step back, get rid of some expiring contracts, and get some pieces, because that was Bloom's biggest thing. He didn't decide. In all, he traded Christian Vasquez, where it was like, okay, you're doing it. You're getting rid of guys. And that was his only move.
That was it.
So, yeah, the Breslow thing, it's you wonder about constraints. And he came in, his job was to pitch fixing. We're not sleeping a lot over here. Fix pitching. And I want to see how he does it. But God, it was a lot of the same in his 30-minute press conference yesterday.
Well, yeah, sure. So hit again, this is a difference in philosophy. His fixing the pitching is bringing in Andrew Bailey as the pitching coach, bringing in the driveline guy as kind of a guru, a mechanics guru.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and trying to like systemically build up your organization's pitching development, training, um, workout routines, everything that the pitchers are doing is essentially changed because Craig Breslow, former major league pitcher, he has that, which shit, I don't even know if the Red Sox have ever had a former player as their GM. Um, and that's totally different. And he had a different approach to that. However, with the names you can read off a roster page right now and guys that are down in spring training, I don't know that he has the talent to do so. You can develop all you want. It's still major league talent against major league talent. I don't see anybody on this team striking out 12 against the Orioles, is basically what I'm saying.
Totally. And I think they're looking at it as maybe he can evaluate the pitching better. At least this is hopeful, wishful thinking. Maybe he can evaluate it and be like, Pavetta, you were way better when you started throwing your slider in the second half of last year. Do that. Brian Bayo, don't throw. This was from, I think, Red Sox stats. When Bayo throws his four seamer, I'm going to get it flipped, I think. But when he throws a low four seamer, guys crush it. Guys slug like 600 off it. But when it's high, they can't hit it. And then he mixes his sinker and his changeup. I think that's stuff that you hear that the Dodgers and Astros do well. Like Verlander has said when he went to the Astros, they said, your two seam fastball is average. Your four seam is still one of the most dominant pitches in baseball. Stop throwing your two seamer. And he just stopped. And then that's the stuff I hope Breslow and I forget his name from
Andrew Bailey.
Driveline.
Oh, but Driveline, yeah.
Yeah. And Bailey do. They need to say to Bayo, as I was barking all last year, you need horizontal movement. Your slider's great, your changeup's really good. Your sinker's great, your changeup's really good. You need something that moves horizontally, because slider and changeup have the same movement. Or fuck, I did it again. Sinker and changeup have the same movement. So you need something that looks different. That's the stuff I hope they change for their pitching.
Yeah, I mean they look similar. They're thrown at different speeds, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Kyle Body is the Driveline guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen. There I think, and this is crazy to say that this rests on a basically a guy entering his age 25 season. Brian Bayo turns 25 in May. Um, he has the most pressure on him in the whole entire staff. It's really a shit or get off the pot situation with him. Like, are you going to develop into a frontline starter at 25? I know it sucks that it's still so early in your career, but you are realistically the only hope to step forward this team. Like, I just don't see it with Garrett Whitlock as I did going into last season because he can't stay on the field. So I would say
Yeah.
that it's all on Bayo to be the top frontline stopper, starter, whatever you want to say, to turn the team around when they're 3 out of 5 are down. He needs to be the guy, and he's 25. And I worry about what you just said, that unless his stuff gets overly developed and he has the right plan to attack hitters, which again, I mean, I don't think I'm telling any lies here. Dave Bush wasn't that guy to do that last year. He wasn't that guy because that was proof by everybody else going to a different team and having a sub 2 ERA. So, I mean, hopefully it does happen, and hopefully it's Breslow, Bailey, and Body, the 3 Bs, um, just helping Bayo, another B, have an A+ year.
Wow. Look at you. Should have been an English teacher. Yeah, it, it was his biggest workload, so he wasn't great um in the second half. I hope that changes now that he's like, okay, the season's long. I'm going to get more innings. Because if you look, that was the most innings he's thrown in any level. He threw 157 last year. And the first and second half splits are rough. A lot more homers in the second half. His ERA ended up at 4.2, but it was like 3.5 in the first half of the season, something like that. So I agree. It's tough to have a guy that you're looking for his like big breakout still. Like last year was a breakout, but like his big I'm a top line starter to also when you're looking for that to also expect him to be the top line starter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's true, and he's not a swing and miss dude. I mean, 132 strikeouts last year in 157 innings.
yeah, only
That's not
7.5 per 9.
so. Again, I mean, he can strike people out, but it always seems like it's earlier in the game, and then he kind of switches to a more of a contact approach. But it's not looking good for the first 5 guys that they'll send out in their starting rotation. And at this point, I mean, I know I saw the headline yesterday. Bayo's on a mission to be the opening day starter. Aside from him, who could you realistically see starting the season on opening day? Pavetta? That's not great.
Giolito, but it's not
I
great.
forgot
We
about
had this
Giolito.
discussion last year where we were like, it doesn't matter. It's basically how your spring training and health lines up. But
I have a
I think
trivia
it's,
question for you, though. Do you remember who the opening day starter was for the Red Sox last year?
hold on. Last year's opening day starter. Was it James Paxton?
Corey Kluber.
Hey, he just retired and
Yeah,
he was
two
really
Cy
good
Youngs,
from,
great career. Yeah, not here.
oh, man. Wow. I just in my head I was like, oh, it was one of those veterans.
Yeah, one of those low risk, high reward veterans. Um,
Low
and
risk as in if he's
the
bad, you just lose games.
reasoning was because Alex Cora didn't want Chris Sale to get too jacked up for his start.
Mm. Hmm. I remember that now. So going to the complete opposite end of the pitching staff, another maybe the second most interesting man in camp is Kenley Jansen because what after reading some stuff and hearing some stuff, I Jen McCaffrey posted a good question in her latest article. Why is he on this team? He's like an elite closer that makes $16 million a year. What's he going to have?
Star
40
power.
opportunities?
They need some star power for their modest price increase, Tom.
Yeah. But he reported a day late with general lat soreness. General lat soreness, to which tells me he got a call, then he came to spring training, he talked to brass, and they're like, yeah, Kenley, you might be in a different camp. We might not risk having you throw and tweak something here. So let's say you have general lat soreness that just popped up like last week. You're taking it easy, and you might be driving a couple miles down the road somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard that they're looking for um outfield help, which seems like a crowded position already. Um, I don't think he finishes the season as a Red Sox. How many saves away is he from like third all
Eight,
time or something like?
18 more saves. He'll be his fourth all time.
Motherfucker might not get that on this team.
He was pretty damn good last
To
year.
be perfectly honest. Yeah, he was an all-star.
Well,
But
you
I
had to have
mean,
one.
yeah, I know, but I don't know. I don't know. Who's the other option to close? Chris Martin? Okay.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't think he's done it.
yeah, true. I get that, but in my opinion, it's like, what's it? What's it matter for? It's basically what's it matter for this team? If in May you're like, oh yeah, they're just not that good. It's like there's no reason to keep a 36-year-old closer on whose deal's up at the end of the year.
I mean, to be quite honest with you though, Dave brought up this point in the group text. If he's at some point 10 saves away from third all time, they're going to market the shit out of that.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's the only thing they have to cling to, unless one of the young guys gets super hot early. That's the only thing they have.
Yeah. Dave O'Brien's gonna eat that up.
Ugh. I heard him call a basketball game the other day. I was watching it was a good college basketball game, but he turned to whoever his partner was and he tried to make conversation. And I'm like, ugh, this is forced Red Sox conversation down 6-0 to like, hey Lou, what do you think of KM hot dogs or some shit like that?
Yeah. Mike Monaco is just sitting there. He is
Yeah,
just
didn't he? Who
sitting
was the
there.
guy? Is Mike Monaco the guy that got offered the Cubs job?
I think the White Sox.
Oh, White Sox. Okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think Boog does the Cubs every day.
no, he does the Angels.
Boog
John Comby.
Shambi?
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought he did
I
the
thought he.
Angels.
I think he does the Cubs, but that's besides
He
the
does
point.
the show. We know he's on the show.
Um, yeah, I'm not going to be surprised when I'm sitting at JetBlue Park, Fenway South in March, and Kenley Jansen is not.
You buried the lead on that.
Oh yeah. Oh, bucket list thing. I bought a ticket. I'm going. I'm gonna be in Florida.
This was the best thing that happened to me at the Super Bowl, learning you're going to a spring training game.
Yeah, I was like, I am going to Florida, and I asked Allie, I was like, how far is Fort Myers? And she's like, actually, it's pretty close. I was like, well, your mom and aunt will be with you with our two children. I'm gonna buy a
Well,
ticket. I'm gonna buy one ticket. And afterwards, I was like, I guess I could have bought two, and we could have just sat there and had a couple beers. And then I was like, one's good. And so yeah, I'm gonna go. I honestly don't care what players I get to see. I'm
mhm.
just more worried about sitting on top of the fake green monster with I might buy 3 hot dogs. I'm hungry now talking about this. I might just crush hot dogs. And like
Absolutely.
$40 beer and just enjoying the sun.
So that is definitely a bucket list thing for me too. I've been to a lot of stadiums, but nothing really compares to like the thought of going down for, I know you're going down for a game, but going down for a week, watching them work out in the morning and then watching a game in the afternoon. And the best part about where it is they're all kind of around each other. So you could go to a different park too. Like if you're down there for the week, man, that's so cool.
Well, I mean, you could probably hard schedule wise, but the Twins are in Fort Myers. They're
Yeah.
both in Fort Myers, so you could just hop over to the Twin Stadium.
When I was in Arizona, I would drive to work and pass like the Cubs, the Dodgers, and I think the Phillies. I'm not sure if the Phillies were out west, but three parks I would pass on the way to work, and that was during spring training. Like it's very because it's obviously they need to split up their teams and just go around the same area. So that's very cool. Very jealous of you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Um, so let's actually shift now. If you had anything else on the Red Sox, we're gonna continue our preview of divisions, and today we are talking National League East.
We get a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
This
had
is a
some
fun one.
it's a fun one, but yet based on um all projections, not going to be close. It's
Nope.
more it's more what's going to happen with 2 and 3. I think. I think we can all agree on that. You
So,
know?
well, Fangraphs would certainly suggest that we can all agree that the Braves are going to make the playoffs and win the division.
Yeah. And
Hey,
according to the Pacoda standings on Baseball Prospectus, they have them projected to win 100 games.
yeah, Fangraphs has them at 98.4 projected
Yeah.
wins,
So, um, well,
which
but we're gonna
again
start from the
is more than the Dodgers.
yeah,
Which I mean, the Braves are a good team, but it's wild to me that they're this much higher than the Dodgers.
yeah. It seriously must be. I think I don't know how projections do this, but every year it comes down to the Dodgers' health of pitching. That is what blows them up in the playoffs every year. So, but we're gonna start with the worst team projection wise, and let's be honest, one of the worst projected teams in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Washington Nationals, according to Pacoda, 58 wins, Jack. They're predicting them to lose more than 100 games. Fangraphs has them at 66, which is 95 losses.
Mm-hmm.
We were
Yeah, not a
talking
very good squad.
before we hit record, and I said I was putting together our transactions little
Yeah,
document
the
there.
work Tom's doing behind the scenes, guys, you can't see it. It's making my life real easy.
So their best player based off WAR was 3. Heimer
Mm-hmm.
Candelario.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, and can and Candelario is currently a Cincinnati Red.
Yeah, he's
I
not
should
there
look at
anymore.
this. They signed Joey Gallo
Yes, they did. That's a
and
signing.
Nick Senzel and Dylan Floro. I have heard of those 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Thomas is a guy. He was in the trade for Juan Soto, I believe. Oh no, St.
CJ
Louis.
Abrams.
Honestly, 58 wins might be accurate. Let's go. Like their depth
So,
chart.
yeah, Nick Senzel is a new addition. He had a pretty good year with Cincinnati last year. Um, Nothing too crazy, but a decent year. Um, Actually, now that I look at it, 230. I thought it was higher than that. 297 on base. Yeah, I don't see anything here. We did talk about earlier how we weren't going to spend a lot of time on the Nationals. Um, for good reason. There's nothing here. I mean, CJ Abrams had potential. They traded him. They were making room for CJ Abrams on the Padres by moving Tatis to the outfield. Um, then they traded for Juan Soto. They moved CJ Abrams to Washington. They have Joey Meneses, who was kind of a star for Mexico last year in the WBC. Pitching is bad. And end of sentence. Cade Cavalli is probably their best prospect. I mean,
Yeah, I was looking for a prospect that I might know, but
yeah, that's
geez.
it. Nothing in the bullpen. I don't even think. I mean, I think you mentioned Dylan Floro. There's Kyle Finnegan, who may be their closer. I it's just not a team worth watching. I mean, and
What
who knows? They could be one of those teams that um starts out blistering hot like the Pirates did last year. There's nothing here to sustain that. They
yeah.
have the second lowest probability to reach the playoffs at 0.4. Only the Rockies have a lower chance to make the playoffs and projections. Um, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
End
And
of story.
it was has they did they just sell the team
I
or
don't know.
there was something where the current owner was sale process has officially been paused. Yeah.
There you go.
The Lerner family all of a sudden was like, we're not spending money. And they got offered in April last year, $2 billion for the team. So the owners are just in this weird thing where they're gonna not sell or not spend, but also say they're not selling, and then all of a sudden they'll sell it for like $2.2 billion or something.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
team won a World Series 4 years ago.
yeah, five, but yeah.
Well, yeah, 4 seasons ago.
Uh, there's no path here for them to get. I don't see a path that they're getting better,
No, no,
like anytime soon. There's not even the CJ Abrams argument. You can't carry a team from shortstop like that.
no.
Um,
It's not
unless
Nomar.
you're Alex Rodriguez, and he's not. Dylan Cruz, draft pick, high draft pick there, but 21-year-old May from LSU, second overall pick in the draft. So
Yeah, and what do you want to boost mild attendance or
yeah,
get
no,
another year out of him? I mean, he'll play double A, triple A this year because he didn't
yeah,
get above
he's
double A last
drafted in
year.
a lot. He was drafted in June, so yeah, he's that's about it. Dylan Cruz, they're probably going to have another top draft pick this year, I would imagine. They didn't
You
sign
know,
anybody to lose a compensatory pick.
you just said LSU. We didn't talk about Skeens last week. Have you heard anything about him making the Tigers or the Pirates roster?
I don't.
I
I'd be very surprised.
You would.
I'd be very surprised. I
Hmm.
guess maybe. I mean, Henry. What was it? Henry Davis went up there. We did not talk about
Yeah.
Paul Skeens last week. I don't know. I'd be surprised if he makes it in his first year. I mean, he's got stuff, but maybe in September,
Yeah, I guess he did rookie ball last year, so maybe
like a Strasburg call up, something like that. Be super hyped, but it'll be towards the end of the year.
but that's sorry, it's off topic. It just popped into my head. Um, we can go with the next team, and that is the Miami Marlins. Oh, he pitched in double A last year. Oh, 2 innings. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not. Never mind. Miami. They are they like They won 84 games last year.
They were in it to
They
the end. They're always going to be in it. They're very similar to the Devil Rays. The Devil
Whoa,
Rays.
where
They're
did that
very
come from?
similar to the Rays. Where they don't do much. They have a team of young guys and journeymen, and they just crank out wins when they have to.
They so last year, Luis Ariz is on the team. He's a favorite of Jack's.
He's a great
Um,
hitter.
Jorge Soler they lost, so they lost 36 homers, and
Hmm.
that was the most on the team by a lot.
Yeah, they're not a
But
homer
yeah,
hitting
they
team.
they have just some guys like Arise is Arise. He ended up we were talking the 400 thing, he ended up batting 350. John Birdie, Jazz Chisholm, Jesus Sanchez, Jake Berger. Is Berger even on the team still? Yeah, he is.
No, he is.
Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah.
still there. But like they
Is
have
he on
Josh
the line?
Bell. These are just guys you know. Brian De La Cruz.
Yeah,
You're I don't know, you know what you're getting. Like De La Cruz had 16 home runs, batted 266 last year.
they got Vidal
Just
Brujan from the Rays, who's a young guy who may come up and make the team. Trey Mancini is there. Um,
yeah, but
but
they actually have exciting pitching.
I was just gonna get there. They do. It's not bad at all.
Jesus Luzardo is like legit a top line starter.
Oh yeah. Sandy Alcantara.
Is it Luzardo?
He's gonna miss the whole year though.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
they have some other guys too. I mean, Max Meyer is going to be a rookie that I believe pitched a little bit last year. Yeah, 20 yeah, how many games? 2 games, so he only pitched 6 innings, but he's going to be a rookie this year. Um, Lizardo, like you said, they've got
Braxton
pieces.
Garrett.
They just and I tell you what, Tom, I have said this privately, I'll say it publicly here. Go get me Edward Cabrera, Craig Breslow. Go get me Edward Cabrera from
Oh,
the
see,
Marlins.
I'd want Luzardo. He's 26. What's Cabrera?
25.
Oh, 25. Oh, yeah. Oh, that I Fangraphs kills me with the minor league stuff. Wait.
I like Lizardo. I liked him when he was in Oakland.
Oh,
Um, yeah, 10-10 last year.
did you know that
3.58
I
ERA. That's not bad.
just
Lefty.
found out if you click the little things on Fangraphs that say preseason projections, minor league, spring training, regular MLB season, it takes them off the dashboard.
Oh wow.
That changes everything. But yeah, last year Cabrera struck out 10 guys a game. Woo! Only pitched 99 innings. It's
Trevor
just a
Rogers is
team.
there too. They're young. They have a bunch of young pitching, and their best guy is out this year. But I'm not going to be surprised if they're in the wild card hunt the whole way through.
Yeah, they're it like them being projected to win 80 games by both Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus. I look at this team and I'm like, yeah,
But
they're an average team.
yeah, the other thing, I mean, Josh Bell playing first base too is he. I mean, that's a big switch hitting guy there. What I feel like they're best suited, and they're really built to like trade around the deadline. Like
Hmm.
this is a team that can move some pieces, and that's what they do. They don't have a big budget. They never had a big budget. At one point, their outfield was Yelich, Stanton, and who's the other guy?
Um, uh, Ozuna,
Yeah,
Marcelo
Marcelo
Ozuna.
Ozuna. Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, yeah, that's not a good look for just Derek Jeter. He was the
No.
president of baseball ops, I think, that got rid of all those guys. Won an MVP for him, won an MVP in the National League the year after he was traded. And then Ozuna's just been I'm Ozuna from the Braves.
Hmm.
Do you understand that reference?
No.
He got pulled over with open containers of
Oh boy.
beer and just said to the cops, "I'm Ozuna from the Braves."
I tell you what,
But yeah,
any players listening, that line never works. Like
if you want to,
earlier in the season, it was Chris Olave got pulled over going like 140, and he was just like, "I play for the Saints, man." And the cop on
hmm
his body cam was just like, "I don't care."
yeah. Uh, but if you look around, like I'm learning all these filters. This is great. Fangraphs, they think of everything. Just based on WRC plus, um, they have one, two, three, four, five positions where guys are not great, but they're above average, above league average. And then Brian De La Cruz is a 99, meaning he is 1% below league average. So he's as average as you get, which isn't. Here's the thing: you don't need all stars at every position. If you have Brian De La Cruz, who just like in a random game is going to hit a homer and a double for you, and it's like, oh, great game from De La Cruz today. We won. It
Hmm.
works out.
Yeah, of course.
It also, I don't know what it is about. I feel like I always want the Marlins to be good for some
Sure.
weird reason. I don't
It's
get why.
it's aesthetically pleasing to have their jerseys in there. Got
Yeah.
the bright
And then on the
colors,
other
got the cool
side,
stadium.
see, I'm glad the stadium's blue now, but I feel like it's like dark.
Yeah, because
I
they
don't know
moved
what
out
it
the home
is.
run. They moved out the home run
That's
statue.
true. That's true. That was you got to put that back.
I've
Just in
been there.
another
It's
part of the
actually
stadium.
I've been to that stadium. It's a really, really cool place to watch a game.
Yeah. Do all the seats face the pitcher? Face the
All the
action?
seats face the pitching mound, and Miami is very weather prone, and they just closed that roof. Zoop. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Tropicana Field once and we did not know that there was a severe thunderstorm during the game.
Hmm.
We walked out and everything was like wet and people were like, "Oh yeah, crazy thunderstorm." Didn't affect us at all. So we're going to move on to a team that does try and build a super team
Worth
and
noting, though, on the Marlins, 28.9% to make the playoffs. It has gone up a little in the last week from the Red Sox, for the Red Sox, as they are now tied at 28.9% to make the playoffs. Again, I don't
hey,
know how these projections are factored. If I were to look at the roster side by side, the Marlins have a much better team.
yes, because of their pitching. So the next team is the Mets, and they have the richest owner in baseball, and he spends like it, and they fall short. Last year, they tried signing Scherzer and Verlander. Neither of those guys stayed on the team all year. They didn't retain
Paid
Jacob
them,
DeGrom.
yeah, paid them their age per year.
Yes. And now we're looking at Kodai Senga, who is a baseball night favorite. He is
Yeah,
he's
without a doubt.
he's on the list of I gotta go check out, just zoom through his starts on
Hmm.
MLB.TV, which you're gonna be getting a text from me soon that the half of that money is due soon. I don't know when they're gonna take it out, but I got an email yesterday.
Sure, sure.
So
So,
go
if
ahead.
I may, um, there are exactly three reasons to get excited about the Mets, and this may be my hottest take of the preview.
Oh
I
boy.
think they suck. I'm not looking forward to watching any of their games. All of the people they overpay for it are poorly evaluated. Um, I'm very excited to watch Francisco Alvarez become a dominant power hitter. Kodai Senga, as you already mentioned, has without a doubt the nastiest pitch in baseball with his ghost fork. Um, and I'm excited to see Edwin Diaz come back from his shitty injury that he got in the WBC. Other than that, this is a third or fourth place team.
I, you know, I looked
They're
at
gonna miss the
I
playoffs.
we did it again. We did it last year, and I just did it again. I clicked on Brandon Nimmo's page,
Yeah, the fuck. I mean, come on.
but then you look and he's his WRC plus is 130. He hit 274, 363, 466, 24 home runs, and RBI are only 68 RBI, but that's tough when the team around you wasn't good. He is just a total blind spot to me.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
I guess he's a good player, but I just
Yeah,
don't. When I think of the Mets and how much they spend, the fact that he's making $20 million a year, I'm just like, is is he the highest? Oh no, Lindor's got to be the highest played position player, right?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Average overall, yes, 31.9. Yeah. Um, Lindor though quietly just churns it out every year.
Yeah.
31 home runs last year, 108 runs, 98 RBI, struck out under 20% of the time.
I like Lindor and always have. I mean, he doesn't walk though.
He does not
Uh,
walk.
uh, 277 with a
But
336 on base.
that's fine.
That is fine. It was
But I
277 batting average on balls in play. So it's actually a little lower. 254 to 336
254.
is better. That's better for an average to split or average to on base split. And he's putting the ball in play. Um and he's a good fielder. But I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see
Well,
it
then
for the Mets
you
this
look
year.
at Brett Beatty hasn't really filled uh come into his own as that super prospect. He hit 9 home runs last year, was negative WAR, 68 WRC plus. Starling Marte, Harrison Bader, like, and then you got someone like Jeff McNeil, who is, I don't know, dare I say, a poor man's Luis Ariz.
I mean, he does have a batting title, um, which he
Jack,
sat the last day of the
I was
season to
just gonna
get.
say you didn't like that batting title.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Um, I did not like that. Yeah, sure. Jeff McNeil hit 23 home runs in 2019, has not hit over 10 since.
Yeah,
Um,
2019 had to juice ball.
270 hitter last year, which is down from his NL leading 326. Maybe he has a bounce back to get to that 300 range he's kind of been living in. Um, I don't know. I can look at the Mets as a whole, and I've said my piece on the three players I'm excited to watch play for them. Um, and I'm going to tell you what, as much as I like the dude, I have polar bear fatigue, right? You want to talk about an overrated guy playing in a big market? That's Peter Alonso.
I mean, 217 average last year was rough. He dropped nearly 60 points in batting average. That's a rough
I
go.
mean, but he's not, and that's the way the game is, right? He's a all or nothing strikeout or home run guy.
Yeah, his
I,
strikeout percentage jumped too.
I can't have that, Tom. I mean, 46 home runs and 118 RBIs. That's unignorable power numbers. Um, I just don't see him doing anything. He's got a 2.8 WAR. He got 46 home runs and a 2.8 WAR.
Yeah, it's crazy. In 2019. I know again 5 years ago. Yeah,
His rookie
it's
year.
so jarring when someone comes up and they're 24 and you're like, oh, that's young. But then you look and guys are coming up at 20, 21, and then you're seeing at their age 30 season, or well, I guess he's 29. But Pete Alonso has like doesn't have 200 home runs yet. That was definitely affected by the COVID year because he's 8
Sure.
short. But you're like, oh, I guess he's just this guy that he is what he is. If he needs to bounce back like 40 points in batting average to be more effective this year because that's just too low, 217. He had only 21 doubles.
Well, what's more damning is he's at 205 of batting average of balls in play, which means if he's
Yeah.
not hitting a home run, he's not hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, hold on. Let's go to some fancy stats here and look at his fly ball rate. Uh, where are you? There you are. Fly ball percentage, 47. Yeah, you gotta get those. His home run to fly ball rate is 22 last year, which when he hit 54 home runs, it was 30. So yeah, his max EV has dropped every year. But Jack, it's a contract year for him. So
There you go. That could do something. Or maybe they even look at moving him. Or, the Mets are the kind of team, though, that for no reason will announce that they've signed him back to a 5-year deal worth 280 million or something like that in spring training.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
kind
they
of team
they
they
gotta
are.
let they gotta let this play
I
out. But they're
did I Go ahead, sorry.
no. I was gonna move on to pitchers, but what were you gonna say?
Well, in a pitcher, like I said, I when Eddie Diaz saved that game for Puerto Rico and then blew out his ACL, like you could feel obviously Mets fans were super pissed, calling the WBC a sham and going way deep into it. However, I felt like my stomach dropped because I loved watching him come out and close a game. And obviously, you got the Timmy trumpets and that whole entrance and everything. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's a dude who throws 100 miles an hour and is absolutely nails in the back end of a bullpen. So it's going to be fun to
Yeah,
see him back.
yeah. So you got him closing, and then you have Kodai Senga, Jose Quintana, Lou Severino, Sean Manaea, and then I don't know. I mean, Adrian Hauser pitched 119
Yeah,
innings.
Joey Lucchesi is there too, who started the year up with them last year. The fourth or fifth spot in that lineup or that rotation is up for grabs. But aside from Senga and his nasty ass ghost fork, I don't see it. Severino couldn't get it done in the other New York team. Quintana has been kind of a journeyman at this point coming from the White Sox. I just don't see him. I just don't see him doing much in this division, which again, baseball changed how many times you play the guys in your division, but I don't see them competing in this division. I would say the Marlins finish above the Mets, and I'm pretty confident in that.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, Sean Manaea they signed. Oh, we haven't been keeping track of our movements here, but they did add, as we mentioned, Severino, Adam Ottavino, who is just it's Adam Ottavino. He's not the Rockies Adam Ottavino that said he would strike out, or Yankee Ottavino that said he'd strike out Babe Ruth every time he faced him.
Or
Um,
Rockies Ottavino, where Brian, shit, what's his name? He's on MLB Network, but he used to be on Baseball Tonight. Real stat nerd, Brian
oh, I know who you're
Kenny,
talking about.
Kenny,
Yeah,
Kenny,
yeah,
Brian
Brian
Kenny.
Kenny. Yeah.
He asked once, "Is Adam Ottavino elite?" Because of the season he was having in Colorado as their setup guy. And at the time, he was. Um, Shintaro Fujinami, a great bridge to get to Eddie Diaz in the eighth inning. Another guy who just throws absolute smoke.
Yeah. He yeah, it's you would have expected something bigger after a bad year, but maybe they realized we got to stop doing the big stuff.
I mean, looking at the what they've added, they've basically taken the Yankees scrap heap guys and just said, just come to Queens.
Yeah. So moving on
Now
Jack
we're
had
into
some
some
strong
baseball
counts.
teams. Now we're into some damn baseball teams.
We got the Philadelphia Phillies twice in the past 2 years, or each of the last 2 years, they've been at least to the National League Championship Series. We're in the World Series 2 years ago. Additions, nothing's gonna knock your socks off. Your socks are still on. Um, they signed Spencer Turnbull and Kobe Allard, and then they got a reliever. And yeah, they didn't add too much. They lost Reese
No,
Hoskins, who was
yeah,
hurt
they
all of
did.
last year.
Um, they lost Michael Lorenzen, who they got at the deadline last year.
Yeah, who threw a no-hitter and then kind of faded.
Yeah, I mean, decent though, decent the whole way down. I would say the biggest one is locking up Aaron Nola. They didn't let him leave. They have their ace. Um,
Well,
and this is
he's
crazy.
MIHO. He is
Zach Wheeler.
their
Yeah,
second best pitcher.
Zach Wheeler. Yeah, he's getting paid like the race. Um, a good baseball team at nearly all 9 positions.
I don't
Yeah,
know how many other teams you can say that about.
they are weak in center field, and that's it.
That was we talked about that during the playoffs last year, where that guy is in the lineup to catch the ball. He is in the lineup to play defensive center field.
Right. Defensively, they might be below average, but overall hitting, yes, every position is decent.
I mean, we did talk about it last year, and it is one of the crazier seasons I've ever seen in my life with Kyle Schwarber having a 1.4 WAR, a 197 batting average. 197 was his batting average for an on-base percentage of 343 with 47 homers and 104 runs batted in. That is the strangest season I've ever seen. A 30% strikeout rate. And he had 47 homers and 104 RBIs. Is he a good hitter, Tom? I don't even know.
I don't know. No, at this point, he is just a masher. Since he's got to the Phillies, he struck out 30% of the time, both years. His average, huh?
He walks.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, I mean, he's always struck out. But now he's just mashing more because it's a bandbox and he's protected.
Right, he is mashing more, but when he gets a hold of one, he fucking crushes it.
But,
yeah. I
Red
mean,
Sox legend.
This just to put it into play here. He hit 47 home runs and he had an under 500 slugging percentage. I don't know. I don't even know how to deep dive into that, but I would imagine that has not happened many times in Major League history.
Yeah. You're going to have to re-up your subscription to StatCast.
That means, don't worry. The stat head will get re-upped by when we get closer to game time here. But he had no doubles. He obviously didn't have any triples. And I believe he had more strikeouts than singles last year.
Strikeouts 215, singles 48.
Quite a bit more.
Yeah. He currently has 1,133 career strikeouts and 375 base hits.
That's including home runs, right?
No, base hits, just singles.
Just singles, okay.
But overall hits 763.
I mean, he is a very interesting hitter, and I can't say that I'm expecting anything less. He played in 160 games last year. He's there every day.
Yeah.
Got to give it to him. 720 plate appearances for almost 50 home runs, 100 driven in. And a 197 batting average. But the 197 batting average kind of pales in comparison to 343 on base.
Mm.
He's the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, it's such, which is weird because they have Evan Turner, or not Evan Turner,
Right.
Trey Turner. Um, but I talked about this with you last year, or 2 years ago when the Phillies were in the World Series against the Astros. I said we have to really start talking about Bryce Harper as an all-time great if he pulled off that World Series win. And then this past year in the playoffs, he was having another great playoff. He is a terrifying hitter. And then the comparison started happening where people were saying he was better than Mike Trout. And someone did the player comparison on Baseball Reference, and Trout was better in everything. I really like Bryce Harper. But just the overall, is Mike Trout that good because he's been on terrible teams is ridiculous.
Yeah, so we kind of went into this last year. I don't think you can hide that in baseball.
You can't,
Like
right?
like on a bad team in the NBA, you can go for 25 because you're the only guy shooting. Um, on a bad team in football, you can stat pad towards the fourth quarter when you're just gaining yards in garbage time. In baseball, you're still taking 4 competitive at bats a game. It doesn't matter where you hit in the lineup, who's in front of you, or who's behind you. To some extent, you have protection. Um, but Mike Trout doing this, I mean, he's not seeing different pitches. It's just a wild argument to have. Um, and because Bryce Harper has one more, I guess he's getting that rub, but the
But
comparison
only
is
in the
not.
last 2 years. Those
Yeah.
2012 to 2018 Nationals teams weren't successful.
Yeah.
It's just, it's, I agree. I mean, his 2015 season was ridiculous. But I think that same year, Mike Trout had a better 2015 season. You know, it's
Yeah.
he
I do know.
he's been able to do it in the playoffs. Mike Trout hasn't gotten there. Yeah, their
However,
2015s were about the same,
I
but
mean, let's talk about Bryce Harper though. The
2012 and
positives.
20. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
He came back from what was it, a UCL injury? Or
yeah.
did
He
he have
had
Tommy
Tommy
John?
John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had Tommy John, rushed back, learned a new position, played in 126 games, took almost 550 at bats for 21, 72, and a 293 average with a 401 on base percentage. That's just a good hitter, man. That's just a good hitter. He
Yep.
was
And
born and raised to be a hitter, and that's what he has
every
become.
at bat in the playoffs, I expected a home run, like legit expected a home run
I did
because
too.
the
Go ahead,
pitchers
sorry.
seemed to be like, I can't make a mistake. And then they kept doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, and he would hit tanks and he played the game hard. I think obviously like one guy said something and he turned into Superman, which is a great trait to have. But I mean, he's got 306 home runs through his age 30 season. I guess, Tom, as we kind of talk about Bryce Harper, you see him getting to the big 5?
yep,
Ooh,
100%.
nice.
I'm
I
like
like that.
100% because what is he, only 30 right now?
30, 31, yeah.
This will be his, 31 season.
Age
Oh,
31 season. Yep.
194 home runs, and his contract goes for 7 more years. Just Philly's the place to hit left-handed home runs, and he can take the DH spot from. Not to mention he's full-time first base now. He's not playing the
Yeah.
outfield anymore. He should stay healthier, and in the next 4 years continue to put up 30+ home run seasons.
I know we're going to do this closer to the actual season starting, but I would say, and especially in this division, which is crazy, he would be in my top 3 for National League MVP this year. I just think he was on his way from coming back from that injury to just having a blistering year. And I think that that's just going to roll. Since he's been in Philadelphia, he's been one of the best players in baseball, earning every cent of his paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, he just got hurt in 2022 and came back in 21 or 23 and had a better year. All right, but let's go to one last thing. Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola last year pitched 100. Oh, where I just had it, Jack. Oh, stats. 193 innings for 2 innings for Nola and 192 innings for Zach Wheeler. That's what you want out of your top two pitchers.
Got to eat them. Got to eat those innings.
And not to
Stay
mention,
healthy.
they each struck out over 25% of the batters they faced, walked 5.7 and 5.0, and then Zach Wheeler let up less than a home run per 9. He was dominant. So they'll be good again. It's just the issue for them is that they're in the division with the Braves.
Which is leading us right to the overwhelming favorite in not only the division, but in all of baseball, according to Fangraphs preseason projections.
Check. 3 teams ago, I said you don't need to
have an all-star at every position.
Well, guess what? There are 9 positions.
Have an all-star at every position.
There are 9 positions on the field. Can you tell me how many of them, without looking it up, the Braves had someone who had an above 100 WRC plus?
Ooh, okay. Including pitchers or just positions?
Nope, just the position players. Because you don't have.
Oh God.
Hitting.
I'm gonna say 8.
You are correct. And the only position they don't have it is Orlando Arcia, who had a 93.
Ha! That's short.
They're a wagon.
Yeah.
You just for them, the question is behind Spencer Strider. Max Fried, if he's healthy, awesome. Charlie Morton, if he's healthy, decent. Chris Sale, we know about. But if Chris Sale has to be the 4th pitcher in the National League East,
he's projected to be their 4th starter, which is
he was the ace here.
Well, in quotes, but yes.
Oh, I know. Oh, that was quoted.
But ridiculous talent at every position. Some would say they got a little better defensively and in left field, adding Jared Kelenic to the proceedings. I mean, literally an above average to all-star caliber player at every position, with Kelenic really his best years to come. Michael Harris, 2nd rookie of the year. Ronald Acuna Jr., MVP. Albies, Arcia, Riley, Olsen, Murphy, all-stars. That's starting 7 of the 9 players. It's incredible what they're going to do. And I guess now that I'm actually looking at the team, I think 98% is a little low. Of course they're going to make the playoffs. Strider, Fried, Morton, Sale, Bryce Elder. Get the fuck out of here.
Bryce Elder, did he get rookie eligibility last year? I don't know, but this will be his 2nd full season, and last year he just popped in with a 3.8 ERA.
Yeah, he made 31 starts last year, so he definitely did.
I meant it was last year's rookie year because he pitched a little in 2022.
Yes, last year would have been his rookie year.
So, and then they have a guy that stole 70 bases and hit 40 home runs.
Yeah. What was lost in their Braves kind of shuffling out of the playoffs a little earlier than expected was the 337, 41, 106, 73 season that, I mean, obviously has never been done before by the, how old is he? Where does it say? 26-year-old right fielder for the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr., who...
And that was his year 25 season. He's 26 now.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. has significantly gotten better every year since he's debuted. I mean, last year, 2022, he was coming off an injury. And he's fully back. He is, oh boy.
You were going to say the best player, but then you thought there's a
Yeah.
guy that pitches and hits.
Yeah. He's he's in the top 5 of the best players in baseball for sure.
Oh, I'd say he's in the top 3.
Yeah, I was too, but I was giving myself more leeway, but I can't think of 2 other people. I can't think of 4 other people better than him.
Yeah. And
I
you
mean,
said
he's probably top 2.
lost in the shuffle of being exit, or the early exit was Acuna's season. Lost in Acuna's season was their first baseman hit 54 home runs and batted 280.
Would have been an MVP in any other season for any other team. He was second fiddle at
And they have
54
just
home runs last year.
before it was announced that Mookie was a full-time second baseman, they have the most consistent second baseman, if not the best.
What has he been, the starting second baseman in the All-Star game the last 3 or 4 years that he's been a pro?
He's been their starter since 2017. He in Ozzie Albies. And then they have Sean Murphy and Austin Riley as 2 thumping right-handed bats. It's insane. And
Also, Thomas, all of these players we've mentioned are under Brave control until like 2030.
yeah, it's nuts. If you like how a team's built, they have Raisel Iglesias. Iglesias is their closer, but they also have AJ Minter.
So
All the projections make sense.
All the projections make sense, and I'm just checking right now. Matt Olson played in 162 games last year. That's how many they have. 159 for Austin Riley. Ozzie Albies played in 148. These guys are staying on the field, is the point I'm trying to make. They're staying on the field. They play every day, and every day they just give it to you. They're just giving you all the business from every position. Pitching, hitting. We haven't even touched on their bullpen, which is good. Acuna, 159 games last year. He did what he did every day last year.
Yeah. I agree with all the projections. I think they're going to be the best team. I know the Dodgers are there, but I don't know. The Dodgers get 15 games against the Rockies and the Braves get 15 games against the Nationals. So both those 2 teams will both have 100+ wins, barring crazy injuries.
Yeah, and whenever they play in the summer, it'll be big time baseball. Raisel Iglesias, AJ Minter, Pierce Johnson in the back end of that bullpen, Matzik. Guys just get it done. They can start and finish games. And who knows what Chris Sale is going to be there. If he's chill and he's in a really good situation and he's healthy, maybe he's Chris Sale of 2017 and he's just absolutely lights out.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so good. And like 2 years ago, we were like, oh man, Braves look cool. Being a Braves fan right now must be nice.
Not only are they so good, but I feel like we've kind of peaked on the best team in baseball with this preview. Like anybody we talk about in the American League isn't nearly this good.
No, I mean, as boring as it sounds, I bet the clear favorite right now in the American League is the Astros.
Yeah, you're not boring. Yeah.
So we're going to get to the AL West next week. But for this week, Jack, that's all we got.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.